Yeah, hey, what's up, Cartels, y'all? So, yeah, we made it a little early today. So, before we check in, I wanted to bring up a couple of verses out of Psalm here, the book of Psalms, because beautiful drive, but there's no way to avoid the police checkpoints. There's actually no way to avoid it. We didn't take any toll roads today, but still, it's just a couple of checkpoints. One of them was kind of permanent-ish. I think they had kind of, they weren't be there all the time, but and it was like, we're in a sketchy situation here. So when you pull up on it, you have to. It's like we walk by faith, not by sight. It's just true. You know, you pray to God before you leave. This is God's van. This is God's video camera. And if He wants to take it back, He will. And if He doesn't, there's nothing that can make it happen. And since that's actually true, you have to. I'm talking to myself. I'm working on it right now. And you can fast track things. My mom fast tracked a lot. She jumped way ahead real quick. Like of decades of just of being kind of worldly, not hedonistic at all, but just not spiritually minded, and then just in a matter of a few years, not even just way past me, just boom, like a car just flying by. So it's not like you have to sit here and study and get a degree, and God can work on your heart when He needs to work on your heart, and it can happen real quick. Psalm 23. 4, one of the most famous verses in the whole Bible. See, the cool part about it is it's true. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Because the rod and the staff beat away the wolves. We got stopped again at a non-permanent checkpoint. There's no way to know that it's going to be there. And it was shady. It's shady. It's dangerous. Guys dressed in black, cops, but and not necessarily. I don't think these guys they weren't strapped or anything, but they got their masks on. They're not going to be filmed. It's not like they're not trying to scare you. They just don't want to be on anybody's camera. And it's not a joke. It's kind of dangerous. And I stick out for obvious reasons. Big red van. 6.5 foot tall white guy down here in the middle of the Mexican desert. And so they pull over, and I'm like, I just said, "Oh, thy will be done." And he asks me, I forgot. I was kind of distracted anyway, and my Spanish is intermediate, but I kind of wasn't in the thinking about it, and I was distracted over here, and he comes up and he's like, "Where are you going?" And he asked me a couple questions in Spanish. I didn't quite really understand what he said, and then but then he realizes I didn't, and he's like, "Well, where are you going? Where are you from?" And I said, "Illinois," which is none of it's. I don't really have an answer to that question actually, but the van is from Illinois, so Illinois. And in case he looks in the back, and. And then I was just aggravated, and I said, "I'm sorry, man. My cat is kind of taking up my attention. I apologize." I said that's what I said. I said my cat's kind of aggravated. I apologize, and he just waved me through. But he could have ruined my life. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You know? Isn't this? I saw a guy on right recently. I kind of just unsubscribed from him for this reason. Ostensibly Christian guy, does a lot of traveling, smart guy, boomer age-ish, maybe a little younger than that, but not much. And he's like down in Mexico City, and he's like interviewing migrants and doing the whole "I'm a traveler" and I'm thing, and it's it looks kind of like an ego trip a little bit. He's got the money. I don't have any problem with that, man. If you can take a trip to Mexico City and then you're in the Middle East a month later, good for you, man. Right on. I don't care about that. But it doesn't quite look like he's really embedded or in any way really in it. You know, he's probably staying at a nice hotel on Reforma, you know, and he's got his paid translators and whereas I'm down here in like, you know, I mean, I'm not one of them. I never would be. I never could be, you know, but I stick out. And this guy's like, yeah, he says, people have asked me, have you ever had any run-ins with the cartels? And he says, well, no, I don't really have any run-ins with them. I don't mess with those people. And he said, but there's an art to talking to them. And I'm like, yeah, God is in control. There's no art involved at all. There's no art is like, you know, like, well, I can manipulate the situation. And no, you can't. If God decides to snap his fingers and pull the plug, there's nothing that your artful conversation and your skill and all that is going to do about it, man. And in like manner, if you fumble every syllable and you look like a clown, but God says pass him through, and there's nothing that this guy can do to stop that. God's gonna let you go through. It's up to God. So, but you got to be living for God. You got to be walking for God. You got to be consciously surrendered to God. Consciously, every little peccadillo in your personality and your bad habits or whatever it may be. You know, you something that aggravates you over here. You got maybe perhaps you let a bad word slip from time to time and it becomes a habit. So you got to cut that out and you be conscious of that. And obviously stuff like getting heavily drunk and you know, obviously that kind of stuff's off limits for obvious reasons. But you know, art. So anyway, this is a long video. I didn't want it to be, but it is. But anyway, yeah, vaya con Dios, you know, Psalm 23, it's true. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. And so, yeah. Praise God, man. I wondered. I'm like, man, this is it. Because they never know, right? But he let me through. We'll see what happens. Vaya con Dios. Adios.